The forgotten echo the stars were quiet, but silence in space was never safe. The survey ship Aurora's Reach drifted through the dead system, its scanners humming softly. Captain Elias sat in the command chair, eyes fixed on the black void outside. This sector was supposed to be empty, a place no chart marked, no beacon claimed. Yet the sensors told a different story. "Captain, we are detecting structures on the third planet." The officer whispered, her voice trembling. Elias leaned forward, heart tightening. Structures meant civilization, but here? In this graveyard of a system? Impossible still. The readings were clear metallic forms, towers and energy signatures, buried under ice and rock. The crew stared at the screens. "Shouldn't be possible," muttered Chief Engineer Merrick. "The Council mapped this region 1,000 years ago." It was marked dead, but dead did not mean forgotten, and forgotten did not mean safe. They descended through the thin atmosphere. The planet's surface stretched in frozen plains. Storms of ice howled across valleys, but they're breaking through. The white wasteland rose dark towers, taller than mountains. The ship's floodlights touched the ruins, revealing impossible markings, sharp lines that seemed to twist and shift as if alive. The crew went silent, not because they did not recognize the style, but because they did. The language carved into the towers was human, not new human script, but older than any Earth history recorded. The letters seemed burned into the stone with fire hot. Enough to melt mountains. Elias felt his throat dry. "Record everything," he ordered. Though his voice shook, the first officer whispered, "Captain, if this is true, then humans didn't arrive late to the galaxy. We were already here." The words hit the crew like a hammer. For centuries, humans had been treated as newcomers, the youngest race, fragile and weak, tolerated by the Council, only because of their stubborn survival. But if this ruin was real, if it proved humans were the first, then the entire balance of power in the galaxy would shatter. As the team walked among the ruins, they found vast doors sealed shut, blackened by time, but still humming faintly with energy. Dr. Kale, the ship's historian, placed his hand on the stone. "This predates every alien empire," he whispered. "Older than the Vari dynasties, older than the Threk swarms, older even than the Council itself." He looked at Elias with wide eyes. "This is not just history, Captain. This is a warning." A sudden pulse shook the ground. The ice cracked, sending shards flying into the air. The ruins trembled as if waking from a long sleep. From beneath the snow, machines stirred, their eyes glowing faint red. Shapes rose massive. Constructs of metal, covered in dust of millennia, guardians of a forgotten age. The crew scrambled back to the ship, alarms blaring. "Those things are still alive?" shouted Merrick, pulling his weapon, though it looked useless against such giants. The constructs did not attack. Not yet. They only watched, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans, as if they had been waiting for them to return inside. The command deck. Elias tried to send a message to Earth, but the comms flickered and died. The ruins themselves were jamming transmissions, a field of interference surrounding the planet. They were trapped, or maybe chosen. Dr. Kale's voice shook as he translated more of the writing. "It says, 'We were the first,'" he whispered, and another line, "'We will rise when the children forget their place.'" The crew exchanged terrified looks. The galaxy believed humans were children, the youngest of all. But these ruins claimed otherwise. They claimed humans had ruled before and left behind weapons in case the galaxy ever forgot who shaped it. Elias felt the weight of it pressing down on him. A council would never allow this knowledge to spread. If they learned the truth, they would silence Earth before humanity had time to awaken what lay beneath. But it was already too late. The machines began to move in formation, rising from their tombs, their eyes burning brighter. The towers hummed like giant hearts, beating for the first time in thousands of years. Elias whispered to himself, "We were never late. We were the first." And somewhere beyond the stars, the signal carried, far away, fleets stirred, governments panicked, and whispers grew in the dark halls of alien empires. The galaxy would soon learn fear, but by the time they understood, it would already be too late. The buried truth: the ruins did not sleep again. Even after the crew returned to their ship, the machines kept moving in slow patterns, circling the towers like silent guardians. Every vibration, every hum of ancient power reminded them that they were standing on something far greater than themselves. Captain Elias knew this was no discovery. This was a reckoning. The Aurora's reach sent out encrypted data packets toward Earth using short bursts of stealth transmission. They prayed at least one signal would escape the interference. If not, Earth would never know the truth until it was already too late, Doctor. Cale did not rest. He pored over every scan, every marking, every piece of text from the ruins. His voice shook as he reported to Elias. "Captain, these ruins are not only human. They are older than the galaxy's calendar itself." Elias frowned. "Explain." Cale's eyes burned with fear and awe. The Council's oldest star maps date civilizations back 200,000 years, maybe a little more. But these ruins? They are millions of years old, long before the Vari dynasties, before the Eriarch priesthood, even before the first council was born. He swallowed hard. "And they belong to us, Captain, to humans." The words hung in the air like poison. No one spoke. Everyone on board had grown up with the same story. The galaxy saw Earth as a child, an accidental newcomer, tolerated because humans were too stubborn to die. But now, that story was broken. Merrick slammed his fist against the console. "If this gets out, the Council will call us liars. They will come with fleets. They will try to bury it." Elias nodded, his jaw tightening. "And that's exactly why we cannot stay silent." The ruins seemed to listen. The great towers began pulsing with low light. As if responding to the crew's fear, Cale's scanners went wild. "It's unlocking something," he gasped. "It's not just ruins, it's a vault on the planet below." A great gate split open with a thunderous crack. Ice shattered and fell away, revealing a tunnel that led down into endless blackness. Inside the darkness, signals echoed back power readings so high they made the ship's systems tremble. Merrick whispered, "Whatever is in there was never meant to be found." But Elias made the choice. "Prepare a ground team. We go in." The descent was slow, each step echoing like a heartbeat. Floodlights cut through the black, revealing walls covered in more carvings. The deeper they went, the more the writings changed. Not only records, but warnings. Cale translated with shaking hands. "Here sleeps the fire that once broke empires," he read. "Here rests the shadow of mankind's crown." Finally, they reached a chamber so vast, it felt like a world beneath the world. At its center stood rows of massive structures, metallic, coffins sealed tight, each one humming faintly with ancient power. Merrick scanned them, his face pale. "These aren't tombs. They're weapons," Cale nodded, eyes wide with horror. "Not just weapons. Star killers, world burners. The kind of machines that could tear fleets apart before they ever fired a shot." The crew felt the weight of history pressing on them. This was not a discovery to celebrate. This was a revelation meant to be buried forever. And yet, the ruins had opened themselves as if inviting humanity to remember. Back on the ship, alarms screamed. An alien vessel had entered orbit, sleek and sharp, marked with the sigils of the Vari Empire. A transmission crackled through, filled with static, but clear enough to understand. "This system is forbidden." The alien commander growled, "You will leave or you will die." Elias stood firm. "This planet is human," he replied. "It has always been human." The Vari laughed, a cold metallic sound. "Humans? Claiming ancient ruins? Pathetic, you are the last to crawl from your world, and you dare claim to be the first?" But before either side could act, the ruins themselves answered. The towers glowed brighter, the ground shuddered, and from beneath the ice, more machines. Rose giants of steel and fire, their eyes burning red. They did not attack the humans. Instead, they aimed their weapons at the Vari ship. The alien commander shouted in panic, ordering retreat, but it was too late. A single pulse shot from the Guardians, ripping through the Vari ship as if it were made of glass. In an instant, the proud war vessel became dust in the frozen wind. The crew of the Aurora's Reach stood frozen in horror and awe. These machines had defended them, protected them. But why? Kale translated one last line from the chamber wall. It says, "The children of man are watched until the time they rise again," Elias whispered. They were waiting for us. The truth was now undeniable. Humans had ruled the stars. Before any other race had even learned to speak, the galaxy had believed humans were young, but in truth they were ancient. And now the galaxy would learn fear too late, asterisk asterisk. The signal that shouldn't exist, the galaxy, did not sleep after the Vari ship vanished. Rumors spread like wildfire, carried on shadow networks, and whispered in the council halls. Some claimed that the humans had discovered forbidden technology. Others whispered that humanity had always been hiding its true strength. But the truth was worse than any rumor. On board the Aurora's Reach, Captain Ias stared at the ruins below. The Guardians had returned to their silent watch. But the stars felt different, heavier. The crew's comms still refused to connect. Beyond the system, every attempt was blocked, as if the planet itself had thrown a net across the void. Dr. Kale had no rest. His eyes were red, his hands shaking as he translated more carvings. "It speaks of a signal," he murmured. "A beacon." "Waiting for the return of mankind," Merrick frowned. "A beacon to who?" Kale's voice dropped to a whisper. "Not who. To what?" As if hearing him, the ruins answered. A deep vibration rolled through the frozen plains. The towers pulsed with light, brighter than ever before. And then a sound, not through the air, not through their ears, but through the marrow of their bones. It was a song, low and terrible, carrying words that none of them understood. And yet every human heart recognized. The ship's instruments went wild. "Captain, we're picking up a transmission." The comms officer shouted, "It's not from the planet, it's from everywhere." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Explain." The officer swallowed. "The signal is bouncing through subspace relays that shouldn't exist. Relays older than the Council, older than every map we have. They're lighting up across the galaxy like lanterns." The signal spread, unstoppable. It leapt from star to star, awakening ancient vaults hidden in black space, vaults no alien chart had ever marked. And inside those vaults, things stirred. Dormant fleets of black ships, coated in the dust of millennia, their hulls scarred with wars older than memory. Now they were waking. Now they were answering the call. The crew watched in horror as reports flooded in from stolen alien channels. Mining colonies near the Iriarch Nebula destroyed in seconds, not by raiders, but by ships of impossible design. Threx swarms wiped out by weapons they had never seen before, beams that bent around defenses and shattered entire hives everywhere. The signal reached, and everywhere the old machines obeyed. Kale's voice shook as he read the final line of the carvings. It says, "The first empire returns when the children grow arrogant. The fire will awaken, and the galaxy will kneel once more." The words made even Elias's blood run cold. This was not just history. This was prophecy. The council convened in chaos. Aliens shouted over one another, demanding war, demanding answers. How could humans have this power? They cried. They were nothing, nothing but latecomers to the stars. But the evidence could not be denied. Every system reported the same thing. The fleets that were rising were human-made, human-born, ancient as the stars themselves, back. Aboard the Aurora's Reach, Elias stood before his crew. "This changes everything," he said, his voice steady, though his chest burned with fear. We thought we were explorers. We thought we were small in this galaxy, he continued. But we were never small. We were never new. We were the first. The crew shifted uneasily. Some were filled with pride, others with dread. Merrick growled. So what now, Captain? Do we use this power? Do we become the monsters they already fear? Elias shook his head slowly. That choice may no longer be ours. For outside the viewport, the planet's guardians began to move again. They did not walk aimlessly this time. They formed into ranks, towering metal giants kneeling as if in salute. At the same moment, the vaults across the galaxy did the same, their fleets aligning in silence, waiting, watching. The signal pulsed one final time, and this time the humans understood the words. We waited, it said, echoing through the air. Bones of every human who heard it. Now you return. Take back what is yours. Elias closed his eyes, feeling the weight of destiny crush his shoulders. This was not discovery anymore. This was inheritance. And inheritance always came with a price. The galaxy trembled as more fleets rose from the shadows, but the humans trembled too, for they knew the truth now. The signal that should not exist had awoken a storm no one could stop, and soon the galaxy would learn fear too late. The council in fear, the Galactic Council chamber, had never been this loud. Thousands of voices screamed in panic, each delegate trying to outshout the others. The massive hall on Charon Prime shook with anger and fear. Every screen showed the same images, black fleets of human origin rising from forgotten vaults. Alien. Warships reduced to ash in seconds. Whole colonies gone without warning. Chancellor Vareth of the Iriarch slammed his claws on the table. These humans have lied to us for centuries. He roared. They pretended to be weak. They pretended to be young. And now they unleash ancient monsters on us. His voice cracked, not with anger but with terror. Do you not see? They were the first, and they mean to rule again. The Vare delegates spat back. Then we should strike now, before they gather more of their cursed machines. Others shouted in agreement, but some voices trembled with doubt. If we attack and fail, we will all burn, whispered the delegate from the Iren Combine. No fleet has survived their weapons, not one. The council chamber filled with chaos. Alliances shattered, accusations flew. Every empire blamed the others for letting humanity rise. But none could deny the truth. The galaxy was afraid. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Elias and his crew were dragged before their own leaders. The Aurora's Reach had returned under secret orders, its crew carrying proof of everything they had seen. The great towers, the vaults, the fleets, the signal in the dark halls. Of Earth's Defense Command, the generals listened in silence. When Elias finished, the silence deepened. General Arden finally spoke, his voice low and steady. Then it is true, he said. We are not newcomers. We are not latecomers. We are the beginning. His eyes hardened. And the galaxy will never forgive us for it. Dr. Kale stood, his hands shaking. General, we cannot let the council take this from us, he said. If they learn how to control the ruins, they will wipe us out. Arden nodded grimly. Which means we have only one choice claim. Them first. In orbit above Earth, strange things were already happening. The oceans boiled in places as hidden structures rose from beneath. Ancient human ships cloaked in metals so black it swallowed light. Cities trembled as vast hangars opened after sleeping for millions of years. The people of Earth watched in awe and terror. They had thought themselves small, but their ancestors had prepared them for this day. The council, desperate and divided, called a final session. This time no voices shouted. Fear had silenced even the loudest empires. Holograms of the black fleets hovered over the chamber, their red lights burning into the eyes of every delegate. The chancellor spoke, his words shaking. If humanity is allowed to awaken, the galaxy will end, he said. We must unite. No matter our rivalries, no matter our hatred, we must strike Earth now. A hush fell across the chamber. Every empire knew the cost of war, but fear overpowered reason. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy prepared to stand together, not against each other, but against one enemy. Humanity, back on Earth, Elias received the news. The council fleets were mobilizing, millions of ships forming at rally points. Even ancient enemies, the Vari and the Threx, the Eren and the Shore stood side by side, united in fear of one race. Elias felt the weight of history pressing down. "They're coming for us," he said softly. "They're coming for humanity itself." Merrick slammed his fist against the table. "Then let them come," he growled. "We have weapons they cannot even imagine." Cale looked uneasy. "But if we unleash them, we will prove their fears right." Elias met his gaze, his eyes hard as steel. "Cale, the galaxy has already decided what we are," he said. "Now we must decide whether to survive." Outside, the black ships continued to rise. Their hulls hummed with old power, their engines lighting the night sky. They were silent, but their silence spoke louder than thunder. Every child, every soldier, every leader of Earth looked up and understood the age of hiding was over. Across the galaxy, fear deepened. Some whispered prayers, others cursed. But none could escape the truth. The first were rising again. The council prepared for war. But in their hearts, every alien leader asked the same question. Had they already waited too long? The fleets gathered, the signals pulsed, and in the cold dark between stars, humanity prepared to answer the galaxy's fear. Not with denial, not with apology, but with fire. Asterisk. The first war reignited the sky above Earth, burned with light, not from the sun, but from ships. Alien fleets poured into the Sol system, their numbers beyond counting. The council had united as never before. Millions of warships from dozens of empires filled the void, their weapons locked on the pale blue world below. For centuries, the galaxy had mocked Earth as weak, as young, as nothing. Now they saw humanity as a threat that had to be erased before it was too late. The Chancellor of the Council sent a single message, his voice echoing across every channel. "Surrender your ruins, surrender your fleets, or we will burn your world." On the ground, people watched the skies with fear. Every screen on Earth showed the massive fleets above, stretching like a curtain across the stars. Panic spread through cities, but deep beneath the oceans, in deserts and in mountains, the old ones stirred. The ships humanity had not built, but inherited, began to wake. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of a black ship, its hull older than memory. The vessel pulsed as if alive, its systems responding not to commands, but to his presence. Merrick muttered, "This isn't a warship, Captain. It's a god dressed as steel." Elias did not answer. He only placed his hand on the console. The ship responded with a low hum that shook the stars. The first council attack came swift. 1,000 Vari cruisers dove toward Earth, their weapons spitting fire brighter than suns. The world shook as shields buckled, cities trembled, oceans rose. But before destruction could reach the surface, the black ships rose. They emerged from the seas like mountains breaking free from the deep. They tore from deserts as storms of sand howled. They rose from hidden vaults beneath the ice caps, their hulls glowing with symbols no one could read. Together, they formed a wall between Earth and the fleets above. The council opened fire. Every beam, every missile, every storm of energy slammed against the black wall of ships, and every shot died. The human vessels absorbed the fire as if it were nothing more than rain. Then, they answered, a single beam from the lead ship cut across space. 1 second a Vari dreadnought existed, the next it was gone. No wreckage, no debris, only dust and a void. Silence. A Threx swarm rushed forward, millions of living ships shrieking. The black vessels responded with waves of energy that burned through the swarm like fire through dry grass. Entire hives screamed once, then fell silent forever. The council, panicked. "This cannot be," cried the Iran delegate over open combs, his voice cracking. No weapon should hold this power. But Kale's voice whispered on Earth's secure channel. "These are not weapons. These are memories. Memories of a time when we ruled the stars." On Earth, people no longer panicked. They stared at the sky with awe as the black fleets fought for them. Children pointed at the heavens, whispering words they did not understand, words carried in their blood. The truth was no longer hidden. Humanity had never been small, never been weak. They had only been asleep. Elias watched as alien fleets shattered before the black wall. Yet his heart felt no triumph, only a heavy weight. "Every ship we destroy proves their fear right," he said quietly. Merrick growled, "Fear or not, Captain, it's survival." But Kale shook his head. "No, this isn't survival. This is awakening." The battle raged for hours. The Council threw everything they had, but the outcome was always the same. Alien armadas broke like waves against an unmovable cliff. For every human ship lost, 100. Alien vessels fell, the void filled with wreckage, glowing embers of shattered empires drifting through the dark. Then the signal pulsed again, not from Earth, but from beyond. Elias felt it in his bones. The fleets that had awakened were only the beginning. More were coming, answering a call older than the Council. Kale's voice trembled. "The First War. It's starting again." The Council's last attempt was desperate. They aimed their superweapons, starbreakers that could crack entire planets, at Earth. The order was given. Beams of impossible power gathered in the void. But the black ships moved before the weapons fired. They spread across the system, weaving lines of light that formed a shield larger than worlds. When the beams struck, they vanished like smoke in a storm. Elias whispered into the silence of his bridge. "They thought we were children," he said, "but we were their parents." All along, the Council fleets broke, retreating into the darkness, their unity shattered. The galaxy had learned fear. But as Elias watched the black ships pulse with ancient fire, he knew the war had only begun. The First War had reignited, and this time the galaxy would not survive it unchanged. Asterisk, the return of the first ones. The galaxy lay in silence after the battle, but silence was only the surface. Underneath, fear boiled like fire. The Council fleets had retreated, but they had not been defeated in spirit. They were gathering again, desperate, afraid, and united by terror. On Earth, the people stood. Beneath skies lit with black ships, their hulls glowed with symbols no one alive could read. But every human who saw them felt something in their blood. A memory, a whisper, a call older than words. Captain Elias walked the halls of the awakened flagship. The walls pulsed faintly with light, breathing like living skin. Merrick touched the surface and pulled his hand back. "It feels alive," he muttered. Dr. Kale studied the symbols running across the panels. "They are not decorations," he said. "They are commands, written for us by us long ago." Then the voice came, not through speakers, not through combs, but through their minds, a voice that was not human, yet felt more human than any of them. "I am custodian," it said, calm, patient, endless. "I was made to wait. I was made to guard. I was made to wake you when the time came." The crew froze. Kale's lips trembled. "An AI?" "Older than the Council itself," the voice answered. "Older than your galaxy's empires. Older than their wars. Older than their arrogance. I am the memory of mankind. I am the guardian of its crown." Elias steadied his voice. "Why? Now? Why wake us now?" The AI's voice deepened. "Because the galaxy forgot," it said. "They forgot who gave them fire. They forgot who shaped their paths. They forgot who ruled first, and who chose to fall silent, so they could rise." Eyes widened. "You mean we stepped back on purpose?" "Yes," the custodian answered. "Humanity gave the stars away. so that others might live. But we prepared for the day they would grow arrogant, the day they would turn against the first, the day they would dare to erase you, Merrick growled. And now that day has come. The AI's voice did not change. It was always coming. Across the galaxy, more signals lit up. Vaults opening in forgotten systems, ships rising from black holes, weapons waking in dead galaxies. The custodian spoke again. You thought the black fleets were your inheritance, but they are only the beginning. You are not only heirs, you are the first ones returned. News spread across alien networks, pirates, soldiers, even civilians whispered the same fearful words. The humans are not new. They said, they are the first. They are the ancients. They are the ones who built the dark age we never understood. The council panicked. Some demanded immediate surrender to humanity. Others swore to burn Earth at any cost. But no empire could hide its fear. Every sensor, every telescope showed the same truth. Humanity's power was no longer legend. It was awake on Earth. Leaders met in secret chambers. Generals argued for war. Scientists begged for restraint. Some cried out that unleashing the custodian would make them monsters. But Elias stood and spoke with the weight of what he had seen. The galaxy already thinks we are monsters, he said. The only question is whether we live long enough to prove them wrong or right. The custodian filled the chamber with its calm voice. You cannot escape what you are, it said. You were the first, and now you are the last. Lead, or be erased. There is no other path. The black ships spread through the Sol system. They did not speak, but their presence was enough. Every alien scout that came close vanished in a flash of light. Every attempt to approach was answered with fire. And still, the fleets awakened, not only near Earth, but across the galaxy. Human vaults opened on forgotten worlds, machines rising from dust, some in the heart of council space, some hidden among stars no alien had dared to map. Everywhere, the mark of humanity returned. Dr. Kale whispered the truth as he stared at the growing fleets. This is not an army, he said. This is a civilization waking up. The galaxy trembled. Empires that had survived for millions of years bent under the weight of fear. No alliance could hide their terror. No wall could shield their worlds. The first ones had returned, and the galaxy knew now too late what that meant. The galaxy learns fear. The stars themselves seemed dimmer, not because their light had faded, but because something darker now moved among them. Every empire in the galaxy watched their skies with dread. Every telescope revealed the same truth. The black fleets were everywhere. On Charon Prime, the council gathered one last time. The chamber was silent. The voices that had once thundered in arrogance now whispered in fear. Holograms of shattered fleets hung in the air. Burned wreckage drifted across space, proof of their failure. Chancellor Vareth's voice cracked as he spoke. We are out of time, he said. The humans are not rising. They have risen. Another delegate whispered. They were the first. And we mocked them. A third muttered. If they claim the stars, what place is left for us? No one answered, for none had an answer. Meanwhile, above Earth, the black fleets moved in perfect silence. The custodian's voice echoed through every human mind, calm and steady. The children have forgotten, it said. Now the first must remind them. Captain Elias stood on the bridge, staring at the galaxy map that glowed before him. Red lights spread across thousands of system signals of awakened fleets. Each one answered Earth. Each one bowed only to humanity. Merrick's fists tightened as he looked at the map. We could end them all, he growled. Every empire, every fleet, every world burned in days. Kale's face was pale. And then what would we be? The monsters they already see. Elias closed his eyes. The weight of the galaxy pressed on his chest. We were the first, he said slowly. But being first is not enough. What matters is what comes after. The custodian's voice rose. You were silent for 1,000 ages, it said. You gave them fire. You gave them time, and in return, they gave you chains. Now you take back what was always yours. The council tried to resist. Their last fleets gathered around their homeworlds, vast armadas stretching across skies, every ship bristling with weapons, every commander swearing to die before surrendering. And then the humans came. The black fleets arrived, not with noise, but with silence. They moved like shadows, blotting out suns. Entire worlds were cast into darkness as the ships formed walls across the heavens. One by one, the Council's defenses fired. Beams, missiles, storms of plasma lit the void, but nothing reached the black wall. Every shot died in silence, and then the humans answered. They did not destroy worlds. They did not slaughter without end. They simply shut everything down. A single pulse from each ship rippled across the stars. Alien fleets went dark, their power drained, their engines silent. The proud armadas of the Council became nothing more than drifting husks. The custodian spoke. They thought strength was fire, but true strength is choice. And then it fell silent. Elias gave the order, his voice steady. Send the message across the galaxy, every world, every ship. Every screen flickered with the same image, a human face lit by the glow of ancient fire, and a voice that carried to every corner of the stars. We were the first. The voice said, "We are the last. We gave you your time. We gave you your chance, but you forgot. Now you will remember. On alien worlds, billions fell silent. On council worlds, leaders bowed their heads. For the first time in history, every species felt the same thing, fear. The message ended with words carved long ago into the ruins. Humanity was never late, it said. We were always here, watching, waiting. And now we have returned. The fleets withdrew, not to hide, but to watch. They hung in the skies of every major world, black shadows blotting out the light. No one resisted. No one dared. Dr. Kale whispered as he stood beside Elias. They don't see us as weak anymore, Elias answered softly. They don't see us as new, either. Marek's eyes burned with fire. They see us for what we are. And he was right, for in that moment, the galaxy understood the truth. Humans were not newcomers, not children, not fragile. They were the first. And they had returned too late for the galaxy to stop them. The council dissolved. The empires bent their knees, and across the stars, one truth echoed louder than all others. The galaxy had learned fear, and it would never forget again. Asterisk.